Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Please like and subscribe to the channel to give me more motivation to tell more interesting stories. Now, let's begin. You're sleeping deep and delicious until it happens. Tung, tung, tung. It's not your alarm. You didn't set one, and yet the sound, low, ancient, and echoing through your window like thunder wrapped in velvet, pulls you from your dreams like a hook through mist. You sit up confused. The world outside your window is wrapped in that strange bluish pre-dawn glaze, the time where everything feels soft, even dangerous things. Especially dangerous things. There it is again. Tung 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 sahur. That last word cracks the silence like an incantation, not shouted, whispered, almost sung, and yet it vibrates in your chest. You shuffle to the window. No one's there. Not really. Just fog, and the faint silhouette of something or someone moving slowly down the street. Not walking, more like gliding. The drum slung across their shoulder is enormous, the kind you'd expect in a war film. They tap it with a long, wooden stick rhythm, perfect, not a beat off. Your phone says 4:12 a.m. You don't remember Ramadan being like this. You press your forehead to the window. It's cold, like touching time itself. You grew up hearing that sahur drummers once roamed old neighborhoods during Ramadan, waking people up gently for their pre-fast meal. But that was centuries ago. That was Istanbul. Or maybe Cairo. This is your tiny apartment, your ordinary street, and yet, there it is. Tung, tung, tung seher. You rub your eyes. Still there, somewhere between curiosity and compulsion. You get dressed, barefoot hoodie, no socks, no sense. You step outside and feel instantly that the world has shifted slightly off axis. The air smells like cardamom and roasted almonds, even though it's spring. And the sky, somehow, is the exact shade of a fading photograph. You follow the sound. Of course you do. That's what happens in these stories, right? Here's a fun twist of history to entertain you, while your slippers slap against old pavement. Sahur, drumming is believed to go as far back as the Ottoman Empire, where trained musicians would wake entire districts with rhythmic chants and handheld percussion. But here's something most people don't know. In 1683, a sahur drummer in Istanbul vanished mid-route. Witnesses claimed he walked into a foggy alley and never came out. Historians still argue whether he was kidnapped by rebels or something older. You laugh it off. You're not in 1683. You're just following a sound. You're just tung, tung. You stop. The street has changed. That little corner store with flickering neon signs, gone. The graffitied wall with Yusuf III, Miriam sprayed in black, replaced by an ivy-covered brick facade you swear wasn't there an hour ago. You blink hard. It stays. The fog thickens, but the sound remains clear. Crisp even. Tung, tung sahur. You keep walking, and there's something else now. The smell. You could swear someone's cooking something. It hits your nose like a childhood memory. Warm paratha sweet tea, and a spice you can't name, but your bones remember. You check your phone. It's blank, dead, or maybe just dreaming. Can phones dream? You chuckle, which is good, because this is getting weird. Another fact, while we're floating through this in parts of Morocco, sahur drummers are called nafar. They carry long horns and play mournful notes under the stars. Some say their job isn't just to wake the living, but to remind the dead of the holy month. Now, whether that's poetic or terrifying is entirely your call. Suddenly, the drum stops. You freeze. It's worse than hearing it. The silence. It feels like a spell has broken, like someone pressed pause on the universe. And then, a voice. Behind you. Not loud, not human. Eat before the sun sees you. You spin around nothing. Just you and fog. You should go home, but you won't. Because breakfast is waiting. The drum beat has stopped, but its rhythm clings to your ribs like static. You keep walking because going back now feels impossible. Not scary, just irrelevant, like trying to rewind a dream after you've already woken up. You move forward into the fog, which thickens like whipped cream. You're starting to think this isn't weather. This is theater. A curtain drawn to signal the next act, and then through the mist you see him. The drummer, he's standing at the intersection where your street used to become a cul-de-sac, except it's not a cul-de-sac anymore. It's wider, older. The cobblestones shine as if they've just been laid down, slick with dew and time. The drummer is turned away from you, facing the dawn horizon, like he's guarding it. He's wrapped in a deep crimson robe stitched with symbols you don't recognize, but feel weirdly familiar. Like something you might have doodled absent-mindedly in the margins of your school notebook. On his head is a fez, not just any fez, but one that glows faintly from within, like it's storing moonlight, like it's alive. You clear your throat. He doesn't move. You step closer. Still nothing. You're 5 feet away when you realize something bizarre. He's not breathing. No rise and fall of the shoulders. No foggy exhale in the chill air. Just stillness. And that massive drum hanging from his chest like a sleeping beast. You're about to speak again when his hand twitches, then his foot. Then without turning, he strikes the drum once. Tongue, you jump. The sound vibrates straight through your sternum, down your spine, into your kneecaps. He turns his head just a little and says, "You heard me." His voice is sandpaper on silk, old and smooth, worn from centuries of use. Most don't. Most dream through it. I wasn't dreaming, you say. He nods slowly. That's why you're here. This would be a good time to run or panic. But instead you ask, where's here? He chuckles. Ask again in 7 minutes. Okay. Creepy. Vague. But somehow you trust him. Eat, he says, pointing behind you. You turn. A tiny table has appeared in the street just like that. It's round wooden and set for one. On it, dates tea, a bowl of steaming congee, and a small card that reads, "Don't skip the olives." Now here's a delightful little fringe fact for you. In 12th century Andalusia, Muslims broke their fast with pickled olives and honeyed almonds. There's even debate among scholars about whether early Andalusians believed olives could ward off bad dreams. True or not, olives still feel like memory in edible form. You sit. The food tastes like a hug. Not just comfort, it's specific. You taste your grandmother's hands. That one Eid when you got a Game Boy. The smell of your uncle's cologne and overcooked rice. It's breakfast, but it's also biography. Who are you? You ask with your mouth full, which feels rude, but somehow fine here. I am the echo, the drummer replies. Echo of what? He smiles. Sahur? Cool. That clears up nothing. Historians still argue whether the term sahur refers solely to the pre-dawn meal or the sacred window of time that carries it. Some say it's just breakfast, Others say it's the moment when night exhales its last breath, the pause before light, the last door before surrender. The drummer walks toward you now. He doesn't seem to step so much as appear, one place after another, without touching the ground. Why me, you ask? Because you listened. He kneels beside the drum, places one hand on it, like a priest blessing an altar. Most people don't hear anymore. Ears too full, worlds too loud. But you stopped. You don't know what to say. So you eat an olive. You'll follow the path he says. The drum will call you forward. Just don't eat anything shaped like a question mark. Trust me. You glance at your plate. Everything's normal. Except, was that spoon always curved like that? When you look back up, the drummer is gone. And the fog, gone too. You're standing alone on a cobblestone road under a sky split between purple and peach. A road that again did not exist in your city yesterday. And now, behind you, your street, the one you've lived on for 6 years, is just a distant, impossible memory. Tongue, it comes again. But this time, not from behind, from ahead. You tighten your hoodie, finish your tea, and start walking. You're not afraid anymore, just curious. You follow the sound, not because you have to, but because you've tasted olives that reminded you of your mother's laugh. And after that, you kind of owe the universe your attention. The cobblestones click beneath your feet like a soft metronome. There's no wind, no birds, no traffic. Just that slow, dreamy tongue in the distance, now less like a drum and more like a heartbeat echoing through the morning hush. Then the scent hits you. Breakfast, but not just any breakfast. Your breakfast. You smell the pancakes your dad made on Sundays, burnt slightly on one side because he always got distracted by talk radio. You smell the powdered cocoa from that cheap tin you swore tasted better than imported stuff. You even smell the exact brand of instant noodles you devoured during all-nighters in college. You turn a corner, and the world changes again. Gone are the ancient alleyways. In their place stands a small courtyard, glowing gold from sunlight that doesn't seem to come from the sky. There's a table, another one. But this time, it's long banquet style, with mismatched chairs, chipped porcelain, and lace doilies that seem to ripple on their own. And seated around it are you, different versions of you, 7 of them. Child, you in a superhero cape made from your mom's old scarf. Teen you headphones dangling from your hoodie eyes, rolling by default. College, you sleep-deprived and slouching typing on a laptop covered in strange stickers. And there's one version of you with slightly grayer hair. He looks up and smiles. Finally caught up, huh? You stare, you blink. What is this? Breakfast future, you says. Memory style. A plate is passed down. It's filled with buttered toast. You recognize it instantly. It's the same kind your best friend used to make during sleepovers. Slightly overbrowned, with cinnamon sugar sprinkled unevenly. This is more than nostalgia. It's edible autobiography. And here's a fun historical nibble while you take that in. In Mughal India, sahur was an elaborate affair. The emperors feasted on dates, kebabs, sugared fruits, and get this rice cooked in rosewater. But most fascinating, some believed the scent of familiar food could guide lost souls home. Historians still argue whether that belief was metaphorical or entirely literal. You take a bite. It's soft, warm. You feel tears press behind your eyes. Why you're not sad? You're full. Emotionally, not just physically. Why am I here? You ask your graying self. He shrugs. To remember. To forget. To eat. But I already had suhoor, you protest. You had a snack, he grins. This is the main course. Then child. You speaks voice high and soft. Don't forget us. Okay? We're what you wake for. You want to say something profound, but your voice catches in your throat. So you nod, and they all smile. One by one, yourselves begin to fade. Not dramatically, not with sparks or CGI. Just like how fog burns off a window. You're alone again, almost, because now seated across from you is a small boy. He's not you. His skin is darker, his shirt too big, his eyes wide with that specific look of someone who's seen too much and still hopes anyway. He picks at a flatbread on his plate. Where am I? He whispers. I'm not sure you admit, but it's safe here. He looks up at you. Does your breakfast always taste like this? You smile. Only when I need it most. Then, in the softest voice imaginable, he says, I think I was hungry for something else. And suddenly you know, he's not lost. You are, and he's your compass. Not metaphorically, literally. When he stands, your feet follow without asking. He walks ahead barefoot, steps silent. You glance back at the table. Every dish is empty now, but on your own plate sits one thing, a single olive, shaped unmistakably like a question mark. You leave it. Good choice. By the way, did you know that olives were once used as offerings in ancient temples? Greeks offered them to Athena. In parts of the Islamic Golden Age, it's said that olives were kept in study halls to boost memory and ward off confusion. Historians still argue whether the oil was symbolic or if the fruit actually remembers. You follow the boy. As you walk, a thought returns to you, something the drummer said. Eat before the sun sees you. You glance at the sky. The light is brighter now, but there's still time. You just have to keep moving. You and the boy walk side by side now. Your footsteps barely making a sound on the cobblestones. It's not like the street muffles your steps. It's more like it absorbs them. Like this world is listening more than echoing. He doesn't speak. Neither do you. The fog has given way to golden light that isn't quite daylight. It's pre-day. A pocket of time between inhale and exhale when the world holds its breath. Ahead, the drum calls again. Tung, 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 sahur. Not loud, but it's everywhere. It's in the walls, in your bones. It's your pulse. The boy turns slightly toward the sound and says, that's where the alley starts. You squint. You see nothing but a row of brick homes, the kind you'd find in a sleepy Mediterranean village, complete with flower boxes and ceramic cats in windows. But then, just like that, like someone tearing a piece of paper, a seam appears between two buildings. A narrow alley, barely shoulder width, no signs, no markings, just the beat. Tongue, you step forward. The alley swallows you instantly. It's dark, but not scary dark. More like library dark. Soft shadows and cool air that smells of pages and patience. The boy vanishes. You should panic, but you don't, because the alley hums. It feels alive. Walls shimmer slightly, as though painted with dew and old magic. Strange glowing graffiti dances along the brick crescent moons, hourglasses, and tiny animals that blink at you. One even yawns. You keep walking. You pass a doorway with a sign that says, do not disturb the bakers. Time is risen here. You pass a bird cage with no bird, just a feather slowly spinning inside it, like a compass needle pointing always deeper. And you pass a cat, not a painted one, this time a real living feline. It stares up at you and says quite clearly, you're late. You pause. I didn't know I had an appointment. The cat flicks its tail. You never do. That's the problem. Then it trots ahead, tail high, as if expecting you to follow. So obviously you do. Here's your historical snack for this dream walk in ancient Baghdad during the Abbasid Caliphate. Narrow alleys like these were used to funnel breeze into homes and trick time into slowing. Urban scholars still debate whether they were designed for comfort or mysticism. Some alleys reportedly ran in circles deliberately, so the mind had to unwind before the body could exit. This one, it feels infinite. At some point, you pass a lantern that flickers as you move beneath it, and suddenly you see yourself reflected in the glass. Except you're wearing robes, a sash, and carrying the drum. You blink, it's gone. The cat speaks again. You remember more when you forget where you are. Thanks you, say that was almost helpful. The alley narrows. You have to twist sideways to continue. The walls whisper names. Some you know. One makes your knees weak. You come out the other side, into a courtyard, where the sky is always early morning. The air smells like toasted sesame, and every stone on the ground is carved with prayers. And the cat vanished. At the center of the courtyard stands a fountain that flows upward, not down. Water spirals from its basin into the sky, breaking into stars that never fall. There's a sign, "Welcome to the Alley of Eternal Dawn." And seated beside the fountain is a woman. Elderly. Wrapped in so many shawls, she resembles a fabric shop caught in a breeze. She gestures for you to sit. You do. You've walked far, she says. It feels like years. It has been. Your head tilts. I thought this was all one morning. She smiles. Every sahur carries 100 mornings stacked like flatbread. You're lucky. Some only get one. Then she hands you a cup. It's filled with thick, dark liquid. Not coffee, not tea. Memory. You sip, and suddenly you're 7 years old listening to your uncle tell ghost stories by candlelight during a blackout. You sip again, and you're 13, fasting for the first time, pretending you're not hungry, but chewing gum under the table and feeling guilty about it. You sip again, and you're here. I don't understand, you say. You will, she replies. But only if you keep listening. To what? She raises a finger. Tongue. You hear it again, and realize you're not walking toward the drum anymore. The drum is walking towards you. The sound gets closer. Not louder, closer. There's a difference you now realize. Loud is volume. Close is presence. Tung, tung, tung sahur. It reverberates in your jawbone, now settles behind your eyes. You glance at the woman by the fountain, but she's gone. Only her shawl remains folded neatly where she sat. It smells faintly of cardamom and lavender, like a warm goodbye. You turn, and now the alley behind you is gone too. In its place, a street bathed in soft orange light. A timeless market unfurls ahead, like something out of an old painting crossed with a fever dream. Wooden stalls lean into each other like conspirators. Lanterns swing gently, even though there's no breeze. And over it all hangs the slow, eternal pulse of dawn. A hand-painted sign welcomes you. The Ramadan Bazaar that never closes. Of course it doesn't. You step forward, drawn in like a fly to honey. The first stall on your right offers bottled sunlight, limited vintage. A corked jar filled with syrupy golden liquid glows faintly, casting tiny shadows that dance like fish in water. The vendor, an elderly man with henna-stained fingers, winks at you. It's best on toast or memories. The next booth displays postcards from years that haven't happened yet. One reads Greetings from Ramadan, 2079, and depicts a mosque floating among the stars. You pick it up, and for a split second, feel the temperature of a day that hasn't come. A woman with eyes like split pomegranates offers you a vial labeled First Love's Sigh. You decline, which seems to impress her. Smart, she mutters. Most people drink it, then walk off cliffs. It's not just a market, it's a mirror. Each stall sells something you've almost forgotten. Smells from family kitchens, echoes of childhood prayers, soft glances from people who knew you before you became too busy to be known. You pass a record player, spinning a song you swear your grandfather used to hum in the garden. Only, you never told anyone that. Ever. You're not browsing. You're being remembered. And then there's a tent. Deep crimson. Velvet flaps. A hand-painted placard. Paintings in moonlight. Commissions available. You hesitate, but only for a second. Inside, it's dim, but not dark. Lit entirely by reflected moonlight, though you don't see the moon. Can't even find the source. A man stands in the center, dabbing a long brush into a pool of shimmering silver. His robes are stitched with constellations. His beard has starlight caught in it. He doesn't turn. You're late, he says. You're the second person to tell me that today, you reply. He chuckles low and soft. Then you're right on time. His canvas isn't canvas at all. It's water, stretched taut across a wooden frame like liquid silk. He dips his brush and begins painting. Your breath catches. He's painting you, not the you of now, but the you from earlier, sitting at the breakfast table, laughing with yourself. The boy, the olive. You saw me, you whisper. I see what the moon remembers, he replies, and it remembers you. Why me? He finally turns, and he knows you. Not in the, oh hey, I read your file kind of way, but the, I held your hand when you were 5, and scared of thunder kind of way. You listened. I keep hearing that. Then you must also know, he says, brushing one final stroke across the liquid painting, that this place fades when the drum stops. What happens when it does? He looks at you for a long time. You forget. That word hits harder than a shout, because suddenly you remember how many things you've already forgotten. The smell of someone's shirt, the way your sister laughed through her nose, the sound of your name when your mom called you home before sunset. You don't want to forget again. He hands you the brush. Your turn. You hesitate. What do I paint? He smiles. What you want to keep. You dip the brush, and onto the water, you paint your father's silence during suhoor, thick with both exhaustion and devotion. You paint your mother's calloused fingers, cracking eggs with perfect precision. You paint the last time you truly believed in something without needing proof. The water shimmers. The images hold. You step back. The man nods. You're almost ready. For what? Tongue closer again. You step outside the tent. The bazaar is beginning to blur at the edges like a dream unraveling. Lanterns flicker. Shadows stretch the wrong way. People don't walk anymore, they glide. You turn back to the tent. It's gone. A paper sign flutters at your feet. Open only during suhoor. No refunds on memory. You look up. The sky is pink now. You're running out of time. You break into a jog not because you know where you're going, but because everything behind you is starting to feel less real. Like a watercolor left in the rain. Tung, 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 suhoor. The drum beat is leading you again. Always forward, never back. You round a corner and nearly crash into a boy holding a tray of dates. He's maybe 9. Wears a hat too large for his head and a grin too wise for his age. You almost missed it, he says, offering the tray. You take one instinctively. Missed what? The painter, he replies. But you already saw him, didn't you? You nod slowly. The boy beams. Then you're right on time. He disappears around a corner without a sound. You don't follow. Instead, you keep walking and notice that the cobblestones are glowing faintly beneath your feet. One by one, they light up where you step as if your memory is being recorded with each footfall. Then you see it, a mosque. But not like any you've ever known. It rises from the horizon, like a memory half-remembered minarets made of woven light domes shimmering with stardust. The calligraphy across its entrance glows like breath on a mirror. You pass through the arched gates, and your footsteps quiet entirely. Inside, everything is silent. Even the drum has stopped. And yet, the silence isn't empty. It's thick, full, like standing inside a heartbeat. The air smells like oud and jasmine, and something older, something like truth. Along the walls, instead of geometric tiles, you see moving images, sahur scenes from across time. A Berber family in the desert sharing milk and dates beside a low fire. Ottoman guards trading sleepy jokes while standing post. A mother in Sarajevo waking her daughters with kisses and warm bread. You walk past them slowly, reverently. A historian's dream, really. Fun side note, some scholars believe that in 9th century Damascus, sahur was signaled not with drums, but with poetry recited from rooftops. Imagine being gently shaken from sleep by verses about moonlight and mercy. Historians still argue whether that practice was widespread or just the passion project of one overly romantic imam. Back in the mosque, you reach a circular chamber where the walls are made entirely of mirrors, some cracked, some fogged, some clear as day. In the center, the drum. It sits on a pedestal, larger up close. The skin is taut golden brown, etched with delicate verses in a language you almost but don't quite recognize. And it's breathing. No, really. The surface rises and falls subtly, like it's alive, like it's waiting. You circle it, you touch it. The moment your fingers meet the drumhead, a wave of warmth floods through you. Your ears fill with whispers, not creepy ones, kind ones, familiar, voices of every person who's ever woken up before dawn just to eat and pray and hope. You hear your grandfather mumbling Bismillah over his tea. You hear your best friend arguing about whether coffee breaks the fast. You hear yourself years ago saying, just 5 more minutes, even as the azan called gently outside your window. The drum is all of them, and maybe also you. Then a voice. You came. It's the boy again, but older now. His voice deeper, his eyes heavier. I had to, you say. Most don't. What is this place? It's what's left of sahur. He gestures around. The echoes, the fragments, the people who still remember to wake up hungry for more than food. And the drum. He places a hand on it. It needs a keeper. You swallow. Why me? He smiles. Because you listened? Seriously. What is it with this place and that phrase? And if I say no, he shrugs. You'll forget. Like the others, your mouth goes dry. Forget what? Everything that matters. You close your eyes, and you see your mother's hands, your father's prayers, that Eid morning when your shoes were too tight, but your heart was wide open. You open your eyes. I'll do it. The boy nods, then beat it. One time. Just once. You lift the stick lying beside the drum. It's light, like it's waiting for you. You raise it, pause, and strike. Tongue. The sound doesn't echo. It expands, and suddenly the mirrors all around you begin to shimmer. They show people now across the world. A girl in Jakarta, blinking awake, reaching for her hijab. A man in Senegal, stirring tea while humming a lullaby he barely remembers. A family in Dearborn, laughing sleepily over leftover biryani. They heard you. They felt it. The suhoor drum still sings because you struck it. And the light begins to change again. The stars begin to fade. You look up and the sky is almost morning. You step back from the drum, your hands still tingling from that single perfect beat. The chamber seems to pulse in gratitude walls, expanding and softening, the light thickening like syrup poured over early morning silence. You expect applause. You get whispers, thousands of them, maybe millions, all threading through the mosque like wind through curtains. They don't speak in sentences, but sensations, warmth behind the ears, the comforting squeeze of an old friend's hand, the scent of oranges peeled by candlelight. The kind of things you forgot you'd forgotten. Then, from behind one of the shimmering mirror walls emerges a figure, tall, gaunt, cloaked in robes stitched from what appears to be pages of books, journals, scrolls. He moves like a breeze disguised as a person. I heard the drum. He says, his voice like dried leaves being turned. You glance at the boy, but he's gone again. Just you and this new librarian. The man walks with the quiet confidence of someone who's read everything. Follow me, he says. You do. Of course you do. He leads you through a side door in the mosque you hadn't noticed before. It opens not to a hallway, but to a cavernous space lit by flickering candlelight and oddly bioluminescent mushrooms. The air smells like old books and lemon soap. Shelves upon shelves rise and twist, growing into and out of the walls. This isn't a library. It's a forest of knowledge. Books breathe here. You swear one shelf sighs when you pass it. Another sneezes. The man doesn't speak for a while. Instead, he traces a finger along spines, wooden, cloth-bound, feathered, and even a few made of glass. You've entered the archive of forgotten suhoor, he says finally. You raise an eyebrow. That's a very specific archive. Most people don't need it, he replies. Most people remember. He stops at a particular book. It hums under his hand. This one is yours. The cover is blank, heavy, warm to the touch like it's been sitting in sunlight. You open it. It's filled with your dreams. Pages and pages of suhoor mornings that never happened. Meals shared with people you lost too soon. Quiet moments. You always wished you'd had imaginary breakfasts, filled with impossible joy and perfect laughter. One page shows you and your childhood dog, long gone, sitting side by side, eating toast and watching a sunrise over a city that doesn't exist. You flip to another. It's you, older than you are now, waking your own children for suhoor. Their faces are smudged with sleep. You're humming the same lullaby your mom used to hum when she poured the tea. Are these real, you ask? They could be, says the man, or not. Depends on what you do next. You close the book gently. What happens to the ones who forget? He gestures upward. You look. Above the shelves float translucent orbs, each one containing a flickering image, a person asleep, a half-eaten meal, a call to prayer, muffled by a too loud phone alarm. Each orb dims ever so slowly, like a fading memory. These, he says softly, are the suhoors lost to distraction. They once mattered. And then they didn't. A shiver creeps up your spine. Can I fix them? He shakes his head. You can remember yours. That's enough. There's something devastatingly simple about that. He begins walking again. This way, he says. One last stop before the moon fades. As you move deeper into the library, the books get stranger. One glows when you walk past. Another opens on its own and reads a bedtime story in an ancient language. One book bursts into a short musical when touched complete with tambourines and backup singers. You politely close that one. Along the path, a plaque reads, "A forgotten suhoor is not a lost one. It waits quietly in the margins of memory." You reach a small door at the back, painted blue. A tiny sign reads, "Only open before sunrise." He pushes it open and gestures you through. You step into a courtyard, bathed in that rich in-between light, the kind that makes everything look like a photo from the 70s. You're back outside, but it's not the bazaar. It's not the mosque. It's not even the alley. It's new, somewhere else entirely. Ahead is a staircase, hidden glowing leading upward. At the top stands the boy again. He's not smiling this time. He looks worried, but he holds out his hand. And as the light shifts, once again, you hear the drum, tung, not in your ears, in your chest. You place your hand in his warm, steady, impossibly real, and begin the slow ascent up the staircase that glows beneath your feet. Each step hums as you touch it, not with music, but with memories. Not just yours, everyone's. You hear the clatter of pans in a Bangladeshi kitchen, the pop of gas igniting beneath a Turkish kettle, the low, tired chuckle of a father cracking an egg one-handed because he's done it 1,000 times. And then, tongue, it comes not from behind you nor ahead, but within. The boy glances sideways. You feel it now. You nod. It's me. You're starting to understand. At the top of the staircase, a large gate awaits. No doors, just two massive crescent-shaped slabs of polished stone. One glows with moonlight. The other is etched with swirling patterns that seem to dance when you blink. Above it, in letters made of woven mist, "When Sahur ends, so does the world." Your breath catches. Little dramatic, don't you think? You ask, half joking. But the boy doesn't smile. It's true, for some. He walks ahead. You hesitate. What happens when it ends? He turns slowly. This place, this world exists only as long as someone carries the drum. The rhythm is the root. Without it, he lifts one hand, and you feel the entire space around you waver. The colors bleed. The ground pulses beneath your shoes like a heartbeat gasping its last. Everything dissolves. You swallow. So I keep the beat. Or the world ends. This one, yes. But it's not real. His eyes flash annoyed. Define real. You're silent. He softens. It's made of echoes. Memory. Ritual. That makes it realer than most things. You pass through the gate together. Beyond it is a wide plaza made of stone tiles shaped like timepieces, clocks, sundials, hourglasses, all ticking softly out of sync. Lanterns hang from strings woven between towering poles, casting dancing shadows. In the center, a gathering. You recognize some of them. The man who paints with moonlight, the old shawled woman from the fountain, the cat. Of course the cat, even the drummer. The original one now seated quietly with the massive drum resting beside him, still as stone. And others dozens who look like they've been waiting centuries just for this. For you. The boy gestures you forward. They part as you approach the center. And there rising from the stone is a dais, carved with verses, decorated with jasmine. Upon it, a small drum, plain, unassuming, but humming with potential. You approach it, and for a brief second, just one, you see them. All the others who came before. They flicker in and out of existence like a flipbook of centuries. A rebel in Ottoman robes a poet with ink-stained hands, a Moroccan girl with wild curls, and a drum twice her size. Each one smiling, each one fading. They nod to you, because now it's your turn. Here's your historical sidebar. While your hands hover above the drum, some scholars trace Sahur, drumming back to pre-Islamic rites of seasonal awakening, when drums were used not to summon worshippers, but to call entire villages back to the rhythms of planting, fasting, gathering being. Historians still argue whether those early rituals were practical or mystical. You sit, you lift the mallets, they're warm. The crowd goes silent. Even the wind holds its breath. And you raise your hands, but pause. Why me, you whisper again. And this time, the boy answers softly, almost apologetically, because no one else would come this far. Tongue. You strike it. The plaza shudders. A wave of memory bursts outward like a sunrise inverted. It washes over everyone, soft and shimmering. The lanterns flare. The time-shaped stones tick in unison. The paintings in the sky animate with scenes from forgotten prayers and remembered meals. It's happening. The cycle continues. You are the drummer now. And suddenly, your head fills with images, millions of them. Faces across the world rising for Sahur. A baker in Cairo brushing flour from his apron. A teenager in Queens slouching toward the kitchen in bunny slippers. A mother in Lagos humming a lullaby over her boiling rice. They don't see you, but they feel you, because someone kept the beat. And as the light begins to brighten, just barely, you know, Sahur hasn't ended. Not yet. You've bought them a little more time, and maybe yourself too. You're not sure how long you sit there cradling the mallets like extensions of your own hands. Could be seconds. Could be centuries. Time in this place is more suggestion than rule. The beat fades. The crowd of watchers, poets, rebels, painters, cats begin to dissolve like sugar in tea. Not with sorrow, with peace. And just as their outlines vanish, the boy's voice floats beside you once more. Now you must know, he says, stepping into the dimming lantern light. There were others before you. Other drummers, you ask. He nods. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Some were chosen. Some volunteered. Where are they now? He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he gestures, and the plaza opens, literally opens, beneath your feet. The stones fold outward like pages turning in a book, revealing a massive staircase descending deep into the earth. A warm, amber glow spills up from below. You hesitate. Of course you do. What else do you do when the world offers you a path downward into glowing mystery? You descend. Each step hums with a different tone. As you move, murals line the walls. Carvings, paintings, tapestries, woven into stone, depicting scenes you can't quite name, but feel like you've lived. A girl in Mali, with a lion beside her, waking her village with a talking drum. A blind old man in Persia, playing Sahur rhythms with his fingers against tree trunks. A boy in Manila, rapping a beat with spoons on metal cups, smiling wide as the neighborhood stirs. Are these real, you ask? The boy tilts his head. They were. They still are, if someone remembers them. And that's the thing about memory, isn't it? It's not just what happened. It's what refuses to die. You reach the bottom of the staircase. It opens into a vast cavern, softly lit by fireflies the size of lentils. They blink in rhythm, your rhythm. And at the center, a massive wall of stone, inscribed with names. Some you recognize, most you don't. Each one a drummer, some carved in ornate calligraphy, some scratched hastily like a desperate reminder. One name is scrawled backwards, as if the person carving it had only ever seen it in a mirror. You run your fingers across them, and there it is. Your name, fresh, new, still warm, etched just above the name of the last drummer. You touch it, and in that instant, you see him, the one who came before. He stands in the middle of a storm, holding the drum against his chest, like a shield, thunder cracking all around, buildings crumbling behind him. Still, he beats it, tongue, tongue, until he disappears. Why did he stop, you ask softly. The boy doesn't respond, but then you notice something near the base of the wall, a door, tiny, wooden. You crawl toward it. The boy stays behind. You can open it, he says, but once you do, you'll see what comes next. You hesitate. Do you want to? Here's a little oddity from the history bin. While you consider in 17th century Yemen, certain towns believed that sahur drummers weren't just waking people up, they were holding the dawn at bay. Legends tell of a man who beat his drum for 7 hours straight to delay sunrise until his mother could return from the mountains. Historians still argue whether the story is literal or liturgical metaphor. You open the door. Inside, a single scroll. You unroll it slowly. It's blank. Then as you blink, ink begins to bloom across the page, like tea dropped onto silk. One word at a time. When the world forgets, the drum remembers. You stare at it, and somehow, you know, when it's your time to leave this place, this is what you'll leave behind. Not just rhythm. Witness. The door closes. The names glow one last time, and you ascend back up the staircase. This time alone, the boy is gone. Or maybe waiting somewhere else. Maybe becoming someone else. You emerge into a different sky, brighter. The stars are almost faded now. You feel it coming. The end of sahur. The azan will call soon. And when it does, the world will forget all of this. Unless you keep walking, keep beating, keep remembering. You emerge from the staircase and into morning's embrace. Only it's not fully morning yet. This moment, this exact sliver of time, feels impossibly stretched. Like the universe is giving you a few extra seconds, a bonus round before the call to prayer threads its way across the rooftops and draws the curtain on everything you've just witnessed. The sky is the color of a held breath. You step onto a narrow stone path that leads back toward the mosque, but now it looks different. Older, vined over with jasmine. The walls pulse with soft light like veins of quartz lit from within. You walk slowly, letting your heartbeat sink to the fading drumbeat still echoing in your chest. The entrance looms ahead, but just before you re-enter, you notice something. To your left, hidden behind a tangle of ivy, is a door. You pull the vines away, and the door opens not to a room, but to a library. Yes, another one, only this one breathes. The shelves move. The books shift, as if they're restless. There's no librarian, no cat, just the books. Watching. You step inside. Immediately, the door vanishes behind you. Typical. This library smells different from the first. Not like old parchment and lemon soap. This one smells like clay honey cinnamon bark and maybe ink that hasn't dried yet. You run your fingers along the spines, each labeled in a different script. Some books pulse faintly. One appears to be weeping softly. Another one giggles when you touch it. You pick a thin volume off the shelf. It opens itself. The pages flick past like a breeze, riffling a deck of cards, then stop. A story appears. A young boy, no more than 10, wakes to the sound of a sahur drum. He runs barefoot down the alley, laughing, chasing the sound. He trips. He bleeds. But he never stops smiling. You gasp. It's you. Not quite memory. Not quite dream. Something between. You try another. This one shows a moment from your teenage years. You skipping sahur. Staying up too late. Feeling empty, but never knowing why. A caption appears. Even when you slept, the drum kept beating for you. You don't cry, but only just. The next book is locked. Its cover is bound in rope and sealed with wax. A single phrase is carved across it. Do not open until your last sahur. You shiver, but respect it. You place it back on the shelf. A light above you flickers, drawing your eyes upward. And there it is, a massive suspended drum. Not meant for beating. This one is listening. Its skin is etched with stories. Thousands of names, etched in overlapping spirals, impossible to read all at once. As you stare, a few shimmer. Yours, your mother's, the old woman from the fountain, even the cat. The drum doesn't speak, but you feel its presence. It's absorbing, recording every sahur ever kept, every intention behind every tired wake-up, every quiet prayer muttered through sleepy lips and dry throats. Here's a tidbit you might appreciate while you breathe in all this wonder in certain Berber tribes. Oral storytellers Imdiazin would use drums to trap stories during Ramadan, believing that rhythms could encode memory better than language. Historians still argue whether those drums were merely performance tools or mystical hard drives of ancient lore. You place your hand gently on the massive listening drum. It hums, like a heart echoing across generations. And in that moment, you understand you were never alone in your fasting. Your loneliness was always shared. Your quiet was always heard. And your hunger, your spiritual one, was always being answered. You whisper a thank you. The library exhales. The books settle. And a path appears lit by soft golden light leading back outside. You follow it, because that's what you do here. You follow the path, even if it leads to goodbye. As you exit, you find yourself back at the base of the mosque, staring up at the minarets, now awash in pastel hues. The sky is changing fast now. You feel it. The call to prayer is near. The world is about to awaken for real this time, which means all this might not last much longer. And yet, there's one more beat to give. The air is sharper now, cleaner, as if the world is washing its face before dawn. You take one last look up at the minarets, then step toward the mosque's grand entrance. But something's changed. The doorway is half lit, as if split between this world and another. You place your palm against it. It opens not outward, not inward, downward. A spiral staircase descends into a narrow shaft of soft bluish light. It smells of ancient stone and crushed petals. The walls are carved with verses in a script that feels familiar and alien all at once, like a lullaby you used to know, but forgot the words to. You descend. With each step, the temperature cools. Not in a frightening way, in a comforting way. Like you're slipping into stillness, and then you hear it again, tongue, but it's not coming from around you. It's coming from below. You reach the bottom of the staircase and find yourself in a chamber unlike anything you've seen so far. It's vast, circular, lit entirely by moonlight that somehow pierces through a ceiling made of ancient stone. And in the center, the original sahur drum. Not just a drum, the first, large enough to sleep in, resting on a dais of carved ivory surrounded by soft sand that glows faintly. The air vibrates around it like it's humming a forgotten tune. You step toward it slowly. Your feet sink into the warm sand with each step. And as you approach, you notice something odd. The drum is breathing, gently, in and out, as if it has lungs, as if it's alive. You're not afraid. You kneel beside it. There are markings on the surface, tiny fingerprints etched into the drumhead. You place your hand near one. It warms beneath your palm, and it speaks, not in words, in memories. You hear the very first drum beat, softer than any sound you've ever heard. It echoes across desert plains, across mountaintops, across time. You see people waking, lighting candles, stirring porridge, hugging their children, kissing sleeping foreheads. The beat continues, and you feel the burden carried by each person who ever held the mallets. The hope, the exhaustion, the wonder. You close your eyes, and the chamber shifts. The walls ripple like water. And now, surrounding you are the echoes. Faint shapes, almost people. Drummers of the past. They don't speak. They don't move. They just watch. With kindness, with longing. You hear a voice, not from them, not from you, but from the drum itself. When the drum is silent, the soul forgets it has a rhythm. You sit cross-legged. The air stills. You realize the entire chamber is a heartbeat, a pulse chamber. And for a brief moment, just one, your breath, your thoughts, your memories, your heartbeat. Sync. You remember every pre-dawn you've ever lived, every groggy stumble to the kitchen, every sip of tea your mother handed you wordlessly, every lazy attempt to wake up later. And most of all, you remember that this time was never about food. It was about hunger, of a different kind, a yearning, a reaching, and the beat. That's the reminder. You place your hand flat on the drum, and you feel all of them, thousands, millions, every person who ever woke before sunrise to reach for something beyond themselves. Some were devout, some were doubtful, some were desperate, but all of them answered the same call, the soft pull of something more. You whisper, "I remember you." The drum exhales. A breeze flows across the chamber, lifting the sand in slow spirals. And you know this is the drum's blessing and its warning. Because when this beat stops, so does this place. Here's your deep-cut historical snack. While you absorb all this, there's an obscure tradition in the Sindh region of Pakistan where it's believed the sahur drummer's rhythm tricks the jinn into staying asleep until daylight. Entire communities once relied on the drummer not just for sahur, but for protection. Historians still argue whether this belief came from local superstition or hidden mystical schools. You stand. The chamber fades into stillness. The drum's breath slows. You touch it one last time. And this time, it speaks only one word: go. You turn. The staircase glows behind you. You ascend. And as you rise, so does the light. Soft, golden, dangerously close to daybreak. By the time you reach the surface again, the light has changed. It's no longer that syrupy, paused-in-time glow of Sahur's safety net. No. This is sharper. The sky's edges are crisping. The stars are retreating like actors bowing off stage. You can feel it. The call is coming. And when it does, this whole realm, every alley, every drum, every whispered memory will slip through your fingers like flour dust on a countertop. But you're not done yet, because waiting at the top of the stone steps is the crescent, not a symbol, not painted in the sky. It's real, floating, spinning slowly in the air above the town square. Not sharp like a blade, not delicate like a sliver of fruit. This crescent is radiant, woven from starlight and silk, casting no shadow and defying gravity. It pulses in time with the fading heartbeat of Sahur. You walk toward it. Around the square, the town's remaining inhabitants gather silently. The moonlight painter, the boy, the librarian, even the cat. No one speaks. They simply part, allowing you to stand beneath the crescent's slow spiral. It speaks, not with sound, with knowing. You feel the message bloom in your chest like a flower pressed open by memory. You are not the first. You will not be the last. But you are now. It lowers slightly, just enough for you to reach. A single strand of light peels from the crescent and wraps around your wrist like a bracelet. It pulses once. You don't flinch. You've come too far for that. A second pulse. The world stutters. For half a second, you're standing in every suhoor you've ever lived. You're a child again grumbling as your mother flips roti on a hot pan. You're a teen too tired to open your eyes, letting your father set your plate. You're an adult eating alone, a single date and a sip of water, whispering Ya Allah to no one but the silence. And now, you're this, chosen, witness, the drummer. The crescent asks not in words, but in feeling. Will you take the vow? And here's the catch. The vow doesn't mean you'll always wake up in time. It doesn't mean you'll always beat the drum. It means you'll try, even when tired, even when broken, even when the world screams for your attention at every second except this one. You lift your hand. You don't even nod. You just accept. The strand of light sinks into your skin. No pain, just warmth. And now faintly glowing on your palm is a small symbol, a drum surrounded by a crescent. It will never fade. The crowd begins to move. Some vanish, some bow. The boy gives a small salute, then dissolves into a swirl of jasmine petals. The cat says, "About time," and strolls off toward a dimension only it understands. You are alone now, except for the crescent. It spins once more, then zips upward into the heavens with a final pulse. Gone. You're back in the square, alone. But something's changed. You feel anchored, like your soul has been tied to something deeper than time. Here's your historical tidbit for this near-sacred moment in parts of Central Asia. Drummers once carved crescent symbols into their instruments, not as decoration, but as a contract. A pact with the sky. If they failed to beat the drum, it was believed the crescent would vanish from the sky in shame. Historians still argue whether that symbol had power or simply meaning. But does it matter? Because now you carry it. You stand in the silence, and it's almost time. The call to prayer is rising behind the mountains. And when it does, this place ends. But your story, it's just beginning. You don't move. You don't have to, because everything is already moving around you. The light is stretching, yawning, blooming. The stones beneath your feet are beginning to fade, not crumble or vanish, but gently release themselves like memories finally let go. The wind picks up soft and slow, not like a breeze, but like a sigh. You close your eyes, and for a moment, just a heartbeat, you hear the sound of every suhoor call being answered across the globe. Clinks of spoons, rushed sips of tea, a sleepy voice murmuring, I'm up, I'm up. And then, tongue, it comes again, but not from a drum, from you, the echo inside your ribs, steady and sure. And in that moment, you know, you are no longer chasing the drum beat. You are the drum beat, the sound that calls back time, the rhythm that reminds the soul to hunger for something greater than survival. You open your eyes. The town is still there, but it isn't. Its colors are fading. The buildings no longer cast shadows. The people are silhouettes flickering at the edges, their forms unraveling like smoke caught in sunlight. You feel something tug at your sleeve. It's the child version of you. The superhero cape, the mismatched socks, the wild hair. He looks up at you and says, will you keep going? Your mouth trembles. Yes. He nods and vanishes. The last piece of the world smiles as it crumbles into petals. And now, There is only you, and a long road paved with light. You step forward, one step, another. Each one sends out a faint tongue, rippling through the air, like a prayer being recited backward in time. You're not sure where the road leads, but you walk it anyway. Here's your curious historical companion. For this step in the journey, some early Islamic astronomers believed the moon didn't merely reflect the sun's light, but absorbed prayers released again only during Sahur and Tahajjud. This theory, while disproven by modern science, still lingers in folklore. Historians still argue whether this belief was myth metaphor or a misunderstood kind of magic. You walk past memories now. Your grandfather's hands cupping warm tea, your sister falling asleep in her cereal. That one sahur, when the power went out and everyone ate by candlelight, laughing like the world was simpler than it actually was. And then you reach a fork in the road. To the left, a quiet path that spirals down into stars. To the right, a narrow bridge suspended between nothing and light. There is no sign, no voice telling you which to choose, only silence, and the faintest drumbeat far, far off. But wait, no, not off. Ahead, the bridge. You step onto it. The moment your foot lands, the sky peels open like a curtain pulled from the heavens. You see the world waking. Coffee brewing in Cairo. Footsteps padding across linoleum in Jakarta. An old man in Istanbul tapping his spoon gently on a teacup. Your rhythm, exactly. They don't know you, but they feel you, and that's enough. You continue across the bridge. The world you left is gone. The world ahead waits, and in between, only the beat, only you. You walk the bridge like a breath held in suspense. Beneath you, nothing. Above you, everything. The path is narrow, but you don't falter. Each step rings out with its own soft tongue, like you're tapping the universe awake one footfall at a time. The bridge doesn't sway. It doesn't creak. It just is like a truth that has always existed, but was waiting for you to believe in it. And ahead, a town, familiar, almost too familiar. The buildings shimmer, not quite still, as though drawn in pencil by a hand that keeps second-guessing itself. You reach the edge and realize this is the same town, the same cobbled streets, the same jasmine-soaked air, the same bazaar stalls, only fainter, dimmer, as if reality is trying to erase it one pixel at a time. You walk its streets again, now empty. No vendors, no boy, no cat, only memory. You pass the moonlight painter's tent collapsed, the table where you shared sahur, with 7 versions of yourself gone. Only the sound remains, faint, fading. Then, the voice, the boy, or not the boy. He's older now. Or perhaps always was, standing beside the fountain, hands clasped behind his back. You returned, he says. Did I ever leave? He says, not really. This town only lives as long as you carry it. You look around. It's disappearing. It always does. Sunrise is a deadline after all. Can I stop it? He tilts his head. Why would you? And suddenly you understand. This town only exists before the world wakes. It's a liminal place, a pocket of spirit nestled inside a ritual most people rush through. A sliver of sacred suspended between the night and the call to prayer. And it lives only because someone remembers. Because you remembered. You sit beside the fountain, the same spot where the old woman once passed you her shawl. It's still there, folded, waiting. You drape it over your shoulders. The boy sits too, gazing up at the sky. A light breeze curls through the alley. It smells like cardamom and lavender. The town is almost done, he says softly. And as you look closer, you see the edges fray. The mosque fades first, like it was drawn in chalk, and the wind has come to wipe it away. Then the plaza. Then the lanterns. Then the sky itself, begins to break open with gold. I thought this was forever, you whisper. He looks at you. It is. Just not all at once. A flock of birds flies overhead, only they don't fly. They vanish feather by feather until the sky is empty again. It's beautiful, you say. And so are you, he says, because you kept it alive. Because you heard the call when the world was too noisy to listen. You look at your hands. The symbol on your palm, the drum, and the crescent still glows faintly, but it's flickering. I don't want to forget, you say. You won't, he replies. Not everything. Not if you listen. And then tongue, one last time. The sound stretches across the town. The rooftops dissolve. The alleys untwist. The smells are the last to leave like stubborn memories. The boy stands. You stand with him. The sky is nearly white now. A sharp, brilliant light pressing just over the mountains. He nods toward the edge of town. Walk until the call begins. Then stop. You do. You walk down the last street, a street with no name. And when you reach the edge, you look back. Nothing remains. No stalls. No mosque. No boy. Only light. Here's your final curious footnote from the past. In pre-colonial Java, Sahur was announced not by drums, but by flame villagers would light a path with torches to wake one another. The last torchbearer would stay behind watching the flames go out as the azan began. Historians still argue whether the torchbearer was chosen or woke up early enough to become one. You hear it, finally. The call, soft, clear. The first note of the azan rises into the sky like steam off warm bread. The world wakes. You stop walking. You are still. And everything is gone. The first line of the azan stretches across the sky. Like gold drawn into sound. You close your eyes. Not in sorrow, in reverence. Because you've seen what lies between the night and the dawn. You've walked streets that never existed and sat at tables no one else remembers. You've watched memory turn to moonlight and moonlight turn to prayer. And now you stand here, still, awake, a world away from your apartment, or perhaps right in the middle of it. You're no longer sure. And honestly, it doesn't matter. The call continues. Allahu Akbar. The voice, though distant, resonates in your bones. It doesn't startle you. It grounds you. It completes you. Around you, the world slowly begins to rebuild itself, but not with stone or mortar. With sensation, smells, breaths, hopes. You see a kitchen light flicker on in a distant window. Someone yawns behind glass. A kettle whistles. Life stirs. And you standing at the edge of this impossible Sahur town that no longer exists. Feel its heartbeat return to your own. Tongue, not loud, not distant, but present. Inside you, you smile. You kneel gently and press your fingers into the cool ground. There's no stone, no sand, just light. You draw a circle in it, then a crescent, then a tiny drum. A ritual of memory. Then you rise and walk. No parade, no cosmic flash, no winged guardian saying good job. Just your steps, your breath, and the call now unfurling across rooftops, waking people who have never heard your name and never will. But that's not the point. The point was the beat. You kept it, and you'll keep it again. Each morning, each time you rise early enough to be hungry for something deeper than food. Each time you hold your silence while the world is still sleeping. Each time you pour tea like it's prayer, because that's what you do now. You're not just a drummer. You're a keeper of ritual, of rhythm, of the space between. The wind brushes your cheek one last time before the world locks into morning mode. The traffic will return. The phones will buzz. The cereal will be soggy again. But somewhere beneath it all, Buried inside the ordinary will be you, drum in chest, crescent in hand, sahur in soul. The last word of the azan echoes through your bones. You whisper your thanks, not to anyone in particular, just to everything, to the town, to the memory, to the boy, the cat, the painter, the shawl, to the echoes. And then you walk home in a world that has no idea what just happened and never will. But you'll remember because you chose to, and that's enough. The sky is bright now, not the magical shade of sahur, but the true blue of morning. Familiar, grounded, honest. You find yourself home, whether you walk through the front door or simply open your eyes. In bed, it doesn't matter. The world is back in motion. Dishes clink, birds argue, someone sneezes in the apartment next door, and you breathe. Longer, softer, like someone who just returned from far away and finally found the couch again. Everything around you hums with the quiet miracle of the mundane. Your floor, your fridge, your toothbrush, all of it sacred in a small, silent way. You move slower now, not because you're tired, but because you're aware. Aware of the weight behind each movement, the meaning behind each bite, the softness in the pause before words. You make breakfast not out of hunger, but gratitude. You whisper a prayer not out of fear, but connection. And when the world fully wakes, it will find you already awake, already tuned in, already listening. Because the drum may fade, but the rhythm remains in you. Thank you for walking this journey. Sleep well, wake gently. And if you hear the tongue, one day quiet, distant calling from the mist, follow it. Even if the world tells you there's no time, make time. Because some towns only exist before sunrise, and some stories can only be remembered by those who choose to listen.